forced into speech because men of science have refused to heed my warning. It is altogether against my will that I reveal the reasons for opposing this contemplated return to the Antarctic. This vast fossil hunt, this wholesale boring and melting of the ancient ice cap. I am reluctant not only because my warning may fall on deaf ears, but because the very telling brings shadows to my soul. My name is William Dyer, professor of geology at Miskatonic University. I was among the few who returned from the Miskatonic Antarctic expedition of 1930 to 31. The purpose of this statement is to discourage any further descent into those lifeless wastes. What we found there should have remained untouched and forever unknown. I now recount the circumstances which led to my involvement in that ill-fated expedition. The events which followed must never be repeated for the sake of all mankind. Back in the familiar halls of Miskatonic, we began our preparations. Professor Lake, tireless, brilliant, and rash, pressed for an aggressive drilling strategy of his own devising. I focused instead on logistics and atmospheric survey planning. Our debates were frequent and sometimes tense, but the shared spirit of discovery carried us forward. We believed ourselves ready. We believed the world held no mysteries great enough to defy our instruments. Lake, ever persuasive, argued for his modified drill with fervent certainty. He insisted the irregularities in the ice layers signaled stratified formations beneath. In those days, superstition held no place among us. Strange fossils, unnatural strata, radio interference. These anomalies we dismissed with academic rigor. We were blind then. Willfully so. On the docks of Arkham, final preparations took shape. Danforth, ever meticulous, reviewed cargo manifests and aerial cable mountings with precision. He ensured Gedney, ever skeptical of our thoroughness, followed through with every bolt and lashing. The younger men whispered of over-preparation. I reminded them, exposure kills swiftly in such lands. Over-preparing is preferable to dying unseen in the ice. We all remembered Shackleton's accounts. None wished to make history that way. We departed the docks on September 2nd, 1930, aboard the icebreaker, the Arkham. Our crew numbered 20, students, scientists, mechanics, and a team of hardy dogs. We carried drilling gear, chemical supplies, aeroplanes, wireless sets, and all the fragile hope men place in progress. Weeks passed as we steamed south into storm-lashed waves and the clutch of ancient glacial seas. The cold grew sharper, more insistent. The stars hung lower in the heavens, and the horizon stretched farther still, as if we were slowly parting from the world we knew. The sky remained an endless shroud of gray, its stillness oppressive. The sea, though calm, whispered warnings in its slow churn. We made landfall near McMurdo Sound and established our main base along the coastal ice shelf, a fragile outpost of canvas and crates poised at the edge of an alien continent. Wireless contact was maintained, flights inland coordinated, yet nothing we did seemed preparation enough for what lay ahead. That evening, as we completed final checks, the dogs grew restless. They barked at nothing, snapped at shadows. As the wind rose, it brought with it a distant piping sound. The animals cowered. I, too, heard something beyond the gale, something not of this world. Our first survey flights revealed a brutal terrain, ridges like shattered teeth, and crevasses without bottom. On the third flight, we saw something stranger. A dark, bare range rising from the ice, wind-scoured and ancient. The rock bore deliberate grooves and striations, as if carved, though no tool had touched it. Lake believed it to be sedimentary, ancient layers of compacted silt and marine life, far older than any we had charted. I remained deeply uneasy. We discussed setting up a forward camp. Lake pressed his case with urgency, insisting the formations were too significant to ignore. Though I hesitated, the logic was sound. I agreed, cautiously. Lake's forward camp was established nearly 4 hours by air from our base. We ferried men, dogs, and supplies to a lonely ridge, jagged and unnatural in formation. The place felt wrong. The air itself laden with tension. The very ground seemed to whisper its antiquity. Lake's transmissions continued from the forward camp. Initially, he spoke of weather and geology. Then came the breakthrough. He reported fossil-bearing strata, possibly Precambrian. The formations were unnaturally ordered, too precise. He believed we were uncovering something far older than the surrounding range. I instructed him to maintain hourly reports. The signal from his camp would occasionally degrade into a wash of static. When I asked if his connection was failing, there was a long pause on his end. Then the radio hissed, and Lake's voice returned, altered. He spoke of layers beneath the ice, structured, deliberate, as if the ice itself told a story. Not just biology, he insisted. Legacy. His theories grew bolder. He believed a constructed formation lay below the Mesozoic ice, an era spanning 250 million years. Reptilian and mammalian origins. Lake was drilling toward it, obsessed. His final lucid message described 12 specimens removed from the ice. Thereafter, his transmissions faltered, broken by static. As the temperature fell and the wind shrieked, silence took the airwaves. In my log, I recorded his claims. Cellular cohesion, twitching under magnification. A part of me hoped it was delusion, but the detail chilled me. Lake described star-shaped ridges, radial symmetry, alien configurations that suggested intelligence. I warned him to be cautious. He did not understand, or perhaps he did, too well. Even then, the signs were clear. But we were too enamored with discovery, too proud. We had uncovered the bones of something prehistoric, but the soul of it still slept. The wind whistled around us like a voice from deep time, something ancient, something wrong. It had been 12 hours without word from Lake. No reply. I ordered the plane prepared. We would fly at dawn. And as the storm howled, and the stars turned above that pale and cursed plateau, I felt something vast and terrible watching from beyond the peaks.
You've reached the end of the signal. If the story held you, stay with us. Like and subscribe, it really does help. There are more corridors ahead, more transmissions waiting to be heard. Thank you for listening.